I'm just out here in this amazing place next to where I live, just looking to collect the green for Solstice Eve. This is the bringing in the green, and you can see if I flip it around that I have already been collecting. Ooh, let's see if I can show you this. Lots of ivy and holly, and I've just found these beautiful red berries that I'm going to use to make my winter solstice sun wheel tonight around the fire. So and burn the one from last year. So I just wanted to share with you this magical moment. This is one of the ways I really feel we can get so close to nature, is to go out and to look for those signs of the season, to look for what's happening in nature at the moment, and to reflect upon how that reflects upon our own life. You know, like nature is the macrocosm, we are the microcosm. So taking these reflection walks at solstice, at winter solstice, is so powerful. And remember, solstice goes over a couple of days, so there's a few days to connect with that energy. So I will carry on gathering, and I will make sure that I show you how I make my sun wheel. It's not perfect crafting. I'm not a perfect crafter, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to be wild like the season. It's meant to be a celebration of what we can see in nature right now, and to honor the light that's returning with the winter solstice. And of course, on the longest, still out gathering the green, and it's just so magical here at the moment by the fjord. I wanted to share it with you guys. See, I don't know how, if you can see how icy it is on the ground. We had a fresh frost last night, and here down on the fjord, it is so peaceful, so peaceful. I don't know if you can see here the birds swimming and flying there. I think this is one of the magical energies of solstice, is this peaceful energy. You know, the ground is covered in frost, and it's a time for us to hibernate. It's a time for dreaming. And I think coming out like this really helps me just to ground in that energy, to come back down to that rhythm, that peace that you get at solstice. And then obviously you get the fresh cold, and you get to come home and have hot chocolate as well, which is a very essential part of winter solstice. So let's go see what I can find. In between the fields here where I live, we have these beautiful pathways. They're like little secret places, and I really feel that I can get so close to nature here. And as you can see, there's not a lot of green here. I've already found my ivy in another secret pathway. So I'm just going to enjoy this beautiful walk. See that gorgeous moss on that tree. It's so beautiful this time of year. So I'm going to enjoy this magical place, meditate, and then go back to my own garden, because I always think it's really important to have ingredients from your own garden in your sun wheel when you make it at Yule. It's part of the things that you've planted, part of the things. So one of the things I've just picked is some dried raspberries, not dried raspberries, sorry, dried blackberries from the place where I went to gather our blackberries at Mabon this year. And I just think it's a memory that I want to weave into my sun wheel this year. So this is my magical place. And if you can see through the trees how beautifully icy it is, and in the background, that deep blue you can see is the fjord we were just down by. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to meditate now. Enjoy. I think I'm feeling prickly this year because it's been a really hard year. Really hard year, really tough. And I feel a little bit battle scarred, and I think that's what the prickly brambles and the rose hips symbolize in my sun wheel for me. But at the same time, even in my tiredness, when I'm resting under the frost, I can feel this life force is coming. And I think that's what I'm noticing in the earth at the moment, that even though maybe I don't feel it, the fertility really is there. I do have everything I need, just as the ground has everything that's rotting down, everything that has maybe torn me down a little bit this year, or, has been super hard. I'm starting to let that go. And this walk is really reminding me how when I let that go, it will rot into the past, it'll break down, and it's going to one day be the nourishment for the things that will grow in the rest of the wheel, when the new seeds are planted, when the new shoots start coming up. And it makes me feel a little bit more hopeful. So those things that I feel like are failures, or things that have been so hard for me this wheel, just being out here and seeing this fertility in the land, this earth, I wish you could smell it. It's rich. Just reminds me that I do have everything I need. I think that's a really good teaching from Mother Earth today. What do you see? What do you see in nature that reminds you, that gives you hope and inspiration here today, or tomorrow, or the day after? I'd love to know in the comments below. Right, so here's all the green I've gathered. Got lots of ivy, pine, I'm not sure what these are, but they're just so beautifully green. Lots of red berries, some holly, and lots and lots and lots of pine, and of course the important ribbon. These are some that were from my garden. I felt it was really great to join in to it. So normally what I tend to do with this is I actually bring the green into my house. So I invite the spirit of the green into my house. So not all of this is going to be used in my sun wheel. A lot of this is going to be used to decorate parts of our house. But I thought I'd share with you today as I make my winter solstice sun wheel. So I hope you enjoy this and maybe get inspired to make your own. So let's get started. So this is probably not the best camera angle in the world, but we have a new kitten in the house where I normally make this, and she's going to think this is great fun, so I figured I'd do it outside. And it's such a beautiful day and the sun is shining, so I thought why not sit out and do this outside where I can connect with the land. So let's make a sun wheel. So I like to try and do this without actually using string. I mean, sometimes you kind of have to. But my favourite way of doing this is to actually shape the wheel with the ivy. And then you need two very important things, two very strong sticks to make the shape of your sun wheel. And I've got to untangle all this amazing ivy that I found this morning. It's ground ivy. And the great thing is when you go out and connect with nature and you take ivy, of course, you know, you never want to take too much, but ivy is actually super destructive. It's actually killing the other plants. So by actually taking the ivy in, not only you're inviting the green into your house, you're also helping the plants to grow that are going to grow up in the new year. So this seems like a good, really wobbly piece. Let's see if I can make it into a wheel. So you literally just start by weaving the ivy around, and it looks really crazy at the beginning, but you know, this craft is not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be wild like the season. It's supposed to be natural. If you're one of these really creative people and you can make perfect stuff out of natural materials, I commend you. I am not one of you. I would love to be, but I'm not. But I think the important thing for me is really that you just connect with the energy of the season more than worrying about whether your sun wheel is going to be perfect or not. I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but I keep on going. That's one of the things I've learned about working with ground ivy over the years when I make beltane crowns, or I make some winter solstice sun wheel, or a summer solstice sun wheel, is you just got to keep on going, because eventually it will work out perfect, exactly the way it should be. But like a lot of stuff in life, really, isn't it? A lot of stuff in life, you just got to keep on going, trust the process, and you'll get there. And already it is actually starting to look like a wheel. I am quite impressed. This is good. I mean, it's not the prettiest wheel in the world, and the prettiest circle, but it's wild and crazy. And to be fair, that's a little bit what my last wheel was like. So I'm thinking that this is a very good symbol of my journey at the moment. And that's the thing, you know, that's why I like to have the stuff from my garden in it, as well as the stuff from my local area, because it's really about connecting with my journey. You know, there's lots of things, like we know there's lots of traditions that ways that solstice was celebrated and whatnot, but I think the most important thing as somebody who practices seasonal spirituality today, to someone who connects with nature in that way, is, see, we have a circle, but it's a bit too thin. We need some more. We need to make it stronger, because this is going to sit in my house for the whole of this wheel. And on solstice, on the longest night, I will burn last year's wheel, put the teeth back in, and I will hang this over our hearth in our home And that energy of the newborn sun comes on winter solstice morn will be in our house. Whoop, getting hit in the face by ivy. It'll be in our house throughout the entire of this wheel. And I think some people ask me, why do I like to do the crafting? Why do I like to sit and do this? And why do I think it's important? But for me, this is really such an important part of connecting with nature. You know, it's getting your hands dirty, it's getting you into the earth. And I even used to do this. I mean, I'm lucky, I live in the countryside now, but I used to do this when I lived in the city. You know, there's a lot of areas where you can gather ivy that's not going to, especially if you live in Britain, you know, it's not going to hurt anything, it's actually going to help plants. And you get to do this and connect with the green. I mean, if you live in the city, you can always connect with nature. When I first started to practice seasonal spirituality, I lived in this commuter town. You know, connecting with nature in a commuter town outside of London doesn't sound like there's a lot of places. So I had to really go looking for them. And one of my favourite places to go was the rugby pitch when no one was practicing rugby, when it was just me, because actually those sports pitches, they have a lot of trees around, they have a lot of nature around them, and they're a little bit away from the chaos that you get in the rest of the city. So, you know, that's a good tip. A football pitch, a rugby pitch with trees around it that's not being used, that is always going to be a great place if you want to go and connect with nature if you live in the city. Of course, there's parks as well, but, you know, a lot of people use those. If you want that quiet time, you have to look for those out-of-the-way places. There we go. You see, this ivy is just perfect for this because it just flows with the process. It goes, and the more you build on, the more you keep on going, the better it is. And again, I know it looks a little crazy now, but this is where we're at. So what I'm going to do is, before I carry on anymore, and I want to save some of this ivy for going in my house as well. So before I start adding more, I need to find my trusty secateurs. Yes, in my pocket. And I need to put in the crossbeams, because the sun wheel is obviously a circle with 4 beams in it, which represents the sun's journey. So it represents the winter solstice, the spring equinox, the summer solstice, and the autumn equinox. So we're going to make that for the wheel, and that's one of the things that makes this, excuse me, just a sec, technical difficulties. I can't open them. You know, it always happens if you put the camera on, doesn't it? There we go, that should be about right. There we go. So first of all, I'm going to make the down bit, and then you just shove this through your ivy, if you can get it through. So we've got the solstices I'm putting in first, winter solstice and summer solstice, connecting with that solar energy. Come on. It's being pesky. It's being pesky. Might have to put some more ivy around this just to get it to sit straight. And then, now we've got this one. You can put the equinoxes in, the spring equinox and the autumn equinox. And don't worry when you're making it if it feels a little bit loose and fragile to start off with, because the more you add to this, the stronger it becomes. Now, is that looking like a sun wheel? Kinda. Okay, so we've got the sea, you've got your winter solstice, let me do this correctly, spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, the journey of the sun. But it does look a little bit crazy, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, it does a little bit crazy. Reflecting my personality. Should we call it that? Reflecting my personality. So I want another good, nice, long piece of ivy. Well, you end up feeling like you're in a pigsty when you do this every time. Getting in a pickle. Is that a good? That's a good piece I can use. So I'm just going to tie another piece of ivy, weave it in and round, just wrapping it round to sit those fast. And then once I've done that later, and when I finish the wheel, I will cut these shorter so they're not sticking out like they are right now. Let's just try and get this a little bit tidied up. Yes, there we go. It's starting to take form. It's nice to do this with you guys here. Very often end up doing this on my own because obviously where I live, I think I've mentioned it before, there's not many people that practice seasonal spirituality. the way that I do. And since lockdown, of course, I haven't been able to run my workshops in person. We normally do this in circle. It's such a magical thing when there's, you know, a group of you in circles sitting and weaving your sun wheels. If you've got friends that, like you, like to celebrate the winter solstice, this is a great thing to do with people. But the last couple of years, obviously with lockdown, what was going on there? It was teasing me. With lockdown and everything, I've not been able to do that with other people, so I've been doing this on my own. What is going on here? Oh, I love it. Chaos crafting. Everything gets in an absolute pickle. But does that matter? No, because we're having fun and we're enjoying it. Yeah. I think it's really important to actually connect with the days over solstice. Some people just like to see the sunrise, and that's fantastic, don't get me wrong, but there's this very magical energy that happens. I noticed it and I was taught it when we were training in Avery, that actually when you look at the solstices and the equinoxes, it's energy over 3 days. You really get to experience the transition. So if you can get out the day before the winter solstice, the day before the longest night, and do that and take a reflection walk about, you know, connecting with the energy as it is pre-solstice. And then again, once solstice has happened, once we have the birth of the winter sun, to then connect with the new energy in the land. You can feel that subtle shift, and it's such a powerful thing to do. Sorry, somebody seems to be flying right now, so if you can't hear me, if you've got a lot of background noise, that's what's going on. We are getting there. Just work with me. This is definitely the spirit of the wild, without a doubt, but that's okay because we are all wild beings. I'm sort of tying in those bits. So looking forward to the solstice fire and telling stories, telling you guys stories about it tonight. Now, I mean, if like me, you feel like it's a bit wobbly, you can also tie these up with string if you want to. You don't have to try and go purely. Hello. Sorry, they're being rather loud. My neighbours in the sky. Excuse me, we're trying to have a spiritual moment in nature. I guess you are as well. But look at that. You aren't half noisy. They're going to fly over the fjord. Beautiful today. Such clear weather. Almost there with the ivy. It looks really messy, guys. It looks really messy. Definitely. I think we're in for some chaotic energy in this this next period, or at least I am. If it's anything, unless I'm willing anything to go by. Please not. We've had a lot of chaos. I would like some peace now. Yeah, but what was I saying? I was saying about taking these walks, you know, taking these walks and feeling that subtle shift in the energy. It's so powerful to recognize it and to see it over the few days. You get a real deep understanding of the shift that happens in nature if you observe it before and then after. Okay, we're getting a little crazy, but we're getting there. What do you think? Does it look as crazy as I think? It is a very abnormal. I may have to tie these two in the middle this year. I may have to go and find some string. But for now, I'm just going to let it be while I start to weave things into it because it seems to be strong enough. So yes, this is my crazy base for this wheel somewhere, and you can see already it's you know, it's fairly good. It's very strong. But obviously you don't just have ivy in nature, so this is where I'm going to start to weave all of the other bits that I've found, and this is why ivy is so great for this, because you can just stick things in where you want it to go and make it look pretty. So I'll stop talking and I'll keep on going, and I'll speed this bit of the video up so that you guys can see the end result. Ivy everywhere. All the ivy. just as a reminder, if like me, you are having a prickly year and you have got yourself lots of prickly things like this, it's probably a good idea to wear gloves if you can find them. Found them. Starting to look good. You want to see? I'll make sure I do a close-up video afterwards. So far, this is the crazy wheels. Get more space. Don't worry, I will use everything here that I've taken from nature in my home decorating. Never take more than you need, never waste what you take. Very, very important. Sorry, I've got kind of distracted by a pine cone that wants to come in and play. Where can I put you? So difficult with the gloves on. Nope. Do you in a bit. Right, let's get you in here, my friend. Yes, I mustn't forget the holly. There's so many lovely things here. It's hard to know what to put in next. But I'm putting some of the seeds from the garden that I've gathered. Bring fertility to the rest of the year. Okay, where's the holly? This is going to get prickly. It's going to hurt. I do like to have the holly and the ivy in there. They really are symbols of the solstice and really show the energy of what we're celebrating at solstice, I feel. Whoops. Yeah, I definitely need to tie this one in the middle. We're going to find some string. I think that I am there. I think that is how it's going to be. A little bit crazy, but that's okay. It's all wild the way it should be. I'm just going to tidy up some of the root bits that I don't want. Cutting those back. There we go. That is this year's winter solstice sunwheel. And then this will hang in our house for the rest of this wheel. I'm getting a little bit finicky with it now, aren't I? What do you think? Do we think it's there? Do we think we've got enough? I don't know. Always add more to it. So beautiful. I love doing this with the green. Connecting with that energy as the sun's starting to go down. We can get ready for the evening. There. Is that a little bit? What do you guys think? All I need now is some ribbon to hang it up with. I'm doing really well today. Let's get this ready to hang in our hearth. Beautiful, bringing in the green, inviting nature and fertility back into our house for the winter solstice. I hope you have a merry solstice. I will see you guys on Instagram, where I will be reading a story of the Oak King and the Holly King to celebrate the solstice with you at my solstice fire tonight. Have a beautiful day. Here it is, the finished sun wheel, bringing all the fertility back to the house. Merry solstice.